Is Apple going to be holding 2 September events? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more in This Week in Apple. Welcome everybody to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. And this is This Week in Apple, where I round up the best Apple news from the prior week. And boy, do we have some topics to talk about today, including a new rumor, breaking rumor about what Apple's planning for September. They're going to have one event, 2 events. What are we going to see? We have all of that and more. We also are going to talk about 1Password moving from a native Mac app to an Electron version, which we'll talk about why that's such a big deal very soon, and we have a lot more to cover. So let's go ahead and dive into it, starting off with Apple's September event plans. Now, this is very hotly debated. There are Reddit threads, there are Twitter threads, there are a lot of articles already written, and the news just came out this morning on whether or not Apple will be holding not 1, but 2 events in September. Apple does have a huge number of products that are set to debut this year. iPad Mini 6, AirPods 3, iPhone 13, Apple Watch Series 7. We also have the new MacBook Pros slated to be revealed. There's a lot of stuff going on. And most of that, I'm pretty sure all of that is expected to drop this year. So if that is the case, will Apple be doing one mega event to announce everything? Are they going to split it up into 1 or 2 events? Originally, if you had asked me, I would have said Apple would have done 1 event in September and 1 event in October. The event in September would be focused on iPhones and Apple Watch, probably the AirPods to go with, and then we'd see another event at the beginning of October, which is what Apple has done historically in the past, and that September event would be the iPhone and Apple Watch. The October event would be Mac or iPad focused. But a new rumor out of DigiTimes today says that Apple will be in fact holding 2 events in September itself, which is going to be an insane month. If that is the case, you can expect a ridiculous amount of content coming from this channel, because that's going to be nuts to have all of that drop within such a tight timeline. It's going to be hard to keep up with if that is truly what Apple intends to do. The thing is, DigiTimes has a hit or miss track record. There's usually, good people supplying information to DigiTimes, but you have to deal with translations and misunderstandings, and by the time that it gets reported on our press, we don't know how accurate that information is. So while DigiTimes is saying there are going to be 2 September events, it could just be 1 event and then a series of press releases. We really don't know, but it is very interesting to hear this posited. We'll have to see what happens next month when Apple does start releasing its large swath of products. Another top story this week, and I mean top story, this was very popular on our site. We had a ridiculous number of comments from our own users on AppleInsider, but we've seen it, on Reddit threads and Twitter blowing up. All of this about a very popular password app no longer running natively on Mac. So the company AgileBits creates 1Password, one of the most beloved password managers of all time, and they are ramping up to release version 8 of 1Password. And in doing so, they released a little bit of background information on what they were doing, and they were planning on doing 2 different versions of Mac apps. They were going to be running one on Apple Silicon and SwiftUI, and then one that was a little more legacy focused, so that way they had the broadest number of users. So they were specifically creating 2 different versions of 1Password just for Mac. The problem was it was taking a lot of development time and slowing them down, and they were not able to hit their targets that they were aiming for. So they made the tough decision to abandon their Mac apps and instead go to an Electron app. So Electron, for anyone who's not familiar, is this standard, it's this framework that allows you to develop kind of like one code base, but to deploy to multiple platforms. So you can create one code base, but then create multiple front ends. So I can have a Windows UI, a Mac UI, and it will allow them to create, just one version of the app that would target multiple different operating systems with just the front end work to worry about. It's much more simplified than what it actually is in development, but that's the main gist of it. And Electron is actually based on web frameworks. So the whole user interface is just rendered from a browser versus kind of, native Apple UI elements. And people are not happy. Electron apps, there are some good ones out there, but there are a lot of not good ones out there. The biggest one, many people are probably familiar with, is Slack. Slack is an Electron app, and a lot of it just doesn't feel native. Now, I could go into all the details about why I don't like this, but there is a great example right here on this Reddit thread that you can see on screen where they lay out all the details of why this app just doesn't feel native. And a lot of Apple users are going to the Apple platform because of the polish and how the hardware and software marry together so perfectly. And to have an Electron app that just doesn't feel right is a big deal. A lot of people love 1Password, so to see them abandoning a fully native solution for this web-based universal app that doesn't feel right on the Mac is just supremely disappointing. I'm very bummed about this. I don't know, I'm not gonna sit here and proclaim I'm abandoning 1Password or anything like that, but I truthfully may just stick with 1Password 7 for the time being. So it's tough to think about, and it's a bummer to see such a good company going down this road. But that's just my opinion. You guys are free to form your own. There is a 1Password beta right now that you can try for yourself and see how you feel about the switch to Electron. It is in beta, so don't take too seriously what you see, because things will change by the time we get to release. But it is open for interpretation. For those in the EU, they are set to propose a new universal standard for smartphone makers, forcing everybody to switch to one universal standard, despite protests from Apple. So this has been going on for a number of years now. Initially, they asked all these companies like Samsung and Apple, hey, work together, work on formalizing a single standard that'll work across all different smartphones. Years later, it hasn't really panned out. The goal here was to help reduce e-waste by having one standard that would work across all manufacturers. The EU posited that there would be less e-waste coming from that. Apple says the opposite, saying that doing this new rule will create more e-waste, but the EU has ignored Apple's contest and is moving forward with this new plan. So it sounds like the new proposal will drop in September. What this means, we don't know. We're not sure what the legislation in its final form will look like, but it could end up with trying to force Apple to switch to USB-C or something like that. Apple's really been fighting this here, so we don't know if maybe they, weren't planning on switching to USB-C. Maybe this will change their plans to switch to USB-C. Maybe they'll pull out of the EU market. We don't know, but this does seem like something that Apple needs to be concerned about, and we will see how this ends up when that proposal is released in September. Lastly, Apple did release new betas of iOS 15. So we have new betas, beta 5 for iPads, iPhones. We got ones for the Apple Watch, Apple TV, and macOS as well. So if you are on any of the beta trains, whether you're a developer or a public beta tester, make sure you're up to date. Bring the latest beta of those. By the way, those new betas did confirm that SharePlay will not be coming to the full release of iOS 15, and instead will be delayed until maybe 15.1, 15.2, just a subsequent update to iOS 15. So if you're really excited for SharePlay, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer for that feature to arrive. And that pretty much covers it. That is the biggest news for the week. Let me know what you guys think. What is your favorite news story? Let me know over on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. And stay tuned. We got a lot more coming, especially with Apple's big September coming up ahead.